Okay, here we go. Let me ask you a question. In sales, what are one of the biggest obstacles that we face in overcoming that obstacle? Well, it's trust. And, as humans, with people that we trust, it's very easy to just do what they say because we trust them. My name is Robert Poole, and I'm going to talk to you today about how we can use trust in sales to make our lives a lot easier. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about referrals. We all know that referrals are kind of the holy grail in selling, and in business. If we can get people to trust us and refer their friends and colleagues and family, those are the best kind of customers to have. And so today I'm going to talk to you about actually what a referral is, and what a referral isn't. How do we get them, and the wrong ways to do it, because that's unfortunately out there a lot. A lot of people tell you how to do it the wrong way, and it actually hurt your business and hurt the amount of referrals you get. So I'm going to show you how to do it the right way. So let's start with some quick definitions. And these are my definitions, but the first category I would say is we've got what I would call a tip. And so what's a tip? A tip is basically somebody tells you, oh yeah, I heard that Bob over there at XYZ company might be interested in selling his business. Basically, it's just some information about some gossip, so that's a tip. That's not a referral. So number two, we're talking about, I would say, I call it like a cold lead. And, that's better than a tip, but that's more like, hey, I told my friend about you, and said you guys do a great job or whatever. Oh, okay. Well, that's, again, information that's nice to know. But that doesn't really help us. That's not a true referral. And then when we talk about a referral is when we actually have somebody in the state where they say, oh yeah, I talked to my friend about you, and told them how great a job you did, and they're interested or whatever, and they're looking for something similar that you guys sell, and they could really use your product or service. I told them about you, and I told them to expect your call, that I was going to give you their number or whatever. So go ahead and give them a call. That's a referral. And because it's got several components in it that really make up what a referral is. So where'd my eraser go? There it is. So, when it comes to actual referrals, what are the main components? The first one is, of course, trust. If we get trust in a sales environment, that gets us 80% of the way there. We spend most of our time in marketing and sales trying to create trust with potential prospects. So again, if we can create that, that gets us most of the way there. And referrals are like personalized testimonials. So the first component that we have to get, is trust. And, how do we get that? Because trust is, something if we don't know somebody or they don't know us, how do we get them to trust us? And it's about a transfer of trust. So if we have a third party that kind of vouches for us, that trust that the third party has, or excuse me, the prospect has with the third party, if we can sort of borrow that trust, it's not 100%, but maybe we get 80% of that trust with the other person because they're vouching for us, that gives us a huge step towards getting it. So a strong referral has got to be able to transfer that trust that somebody's vouching for us. And you can't buy that kind of trust. So, what's number two with a referral? So it's not just about trust, though. Those referrals, the people that they, whoops, spelled that wrong here. Referrals that somebody gives us, if they're not qualified, if they're not our ideal client, it's kind of a waste. It can actually backfire on us. So, the second component of any referral is, are they qualified? Do they actually fit what we're talking about? Do they fit our ideal client profile? Do they, are they in the industry we're looking for? If it was in B2B, are they the size company that we're looking for? Do they fit the psychodemographics that we talked about in some of the other videos? Those types of things. So are they qualified? That's a big thing that we tend to forget. And the problem if we ignore that is that we have people who will refer us, people who are not qualified, and we'll talk about why that is in a second, but they'll refer us to somebody who's not qualified. And what does that do? it gets to the point where you're talking to them, you realize you're not qualified, and you have to tell a prospect, yeah, sorry to waste your time, but this, you're not really who we're looking for. We can't really help you. So the prospect wasted their time. You wasted your time, and the person who referred you is now embarrassed because they referred somebody that isn't qualified in your mind, doesn't fit what you're looking for. And so everybody comes out of that on the wrong end, and you probably won't get any more referrals from that person. So and then so you've got the trust, you've got some qualified interest. You've got to have that person that they're referring, that referral has got to have a need, and they got to have a need, in the fairly soon future, either right now or pretty quickly. So it's kind of like somebody says, oh yeah, I got a great plumber or whatever, he charges reasonably, does great work, and blah blah blah, and here's his number, and it's like, well, great, but if I don't need a plumber anytime soon, I haven't had any plumbing problems. I'm not gonna. Who cares? I might keep that guy's number for down the road if I have, a toilet clogged up or something. But most likely, it's not a lot of value. So because I don't have a need or a want for what they're providing, so we've got to have trust. They've got to be qualified, and they've got to have some fairly immediate need. And otherwise, they don't qualify as a referral as far as what we're talking about today. And I know that bar is a little bit higher than what a lot of people teach, and we'll talk about that in a second. But this really, again, is something that keeps us from getting in trouble. It keeps us continuing referrals, and we don't waste our time. We don't tick off the people that are referring us to, and we don't tick off the prospect. So these components are very important, in the referral process. So, what's on the mechanics of how do we get these actual referrals? Well, number one, I always like to look at, first of all, what's the opposite? What should we not do? What's the typical way most people in sales teach you how to ask for a referral? It's, let's just say you're sitting down with somebody, you just closed the deal, everybody's happy, and what do they teach you to do? Hey, Mr. Smith, who do you know that, might be interested in our product or service or whatever? And you know what? That sounds like it makes sense because the person's happy and all that. But the problem is that, just like we talked about in that HSC model, the chemicals that are generated during a sale, if it's done properly, that serotonin, that dopamine, the oxytocin, all that stuff, all that high that they're actually feeling, guess what? As soon as we say that, and as well as I do, you've been in that position, somebody has asked you that most likely in life, all of a sudden you're a deer in the headlights, kind of like, oh, whoo, and you just killed off all those chemicals, all that high, and you basically ruined the sale, post. So they're no longer going to feel great about things. So you really kick yourself, in the teeth on that one because you're ruining their high and taking that away from them. And the other problem is that, it's very unlikely to yield anything. It's possible, and you may be sitting there going, well, I had somebody refer me once that, whatever, and it's like, well, everything works sometimes. Doesn't mean it's a good idea to do it consistently. But if you do that, you're not going to consistently get good results, over time. And part of it is because, again, you've got that deer in the headlights. All of a sudden those barriers go back up. That cortisol starts popping off, and people get that fight or flight, response, whatever. And so we're putting them in a bad position. And even if they can come up with somebody, they think, oh yeah, my brother-in-law was talking about that the other day or something. Again, they're going to give you a tip, or they're going to give you a cold lead. They're not going to give you a referral because they haven't talked to that person and they haven't cleared it with them, haven't, confirmed, the qualified need and all that stuff. So don't do that. It's a waste of time, and it's too bad that, you find sales trainers and gurus teaching that, because it doesn't work, and it's a bad idea for everybody. So the real question, of course, is, how do we actually get them? And it goes back to what we were just talking about. What do we do on the trust component? The number one thing that we can do, and we should be doing anyway, is create, raving fans, and by doing outstanding customer service, by having an outstanding product or service. So trust comes from outstanding product and service, I'm abbreviate here, and creating those raving fans. If we're not getting referrals, the first hint about that is that our product or service may not be doing a great job for our clients. We either are selling to the wrong people, or it's not fulfilling their need and not fulfilling what they're looking for. Because people who are getting that are happy, and they turn into raving fans automatically. So that's kind of a prerequisite. The first thing when we focus on that trust, the easiest way to get that is to actually provide a great service and product. So again, if you're not getting them, that's your first hint. And it's very easy if you think about a time when you bought something and you kind of turned into a raving fan yourself, where you're like telling other people about stuff even when they haven't prompted you. You're like, yeah, this movie was really fantastic, or any product or service you bought, and you're like telling everybody that you talk to, hey, great. And you got that great feeling about the company or the salesperson you're dealing with, because you become a raving fan. And what's the natural thing? You want to reciprocate. If there's a way for you to help them, you most likely would do that. So we allow people to reciprocate by setting them up and making them raving fans. So that's number one. It goes back to if you've ever been in a car dealership, and most likely, what do you do when they walk in the door? The good salespeople will say, hey, can I get you a glass of water, a cup of coffee? And they don't do it because they think you're thirsty. They do it because they know that you're going to be indebted to them psychologically. If they give you something, then you're going to have to reciprocate and listen to them do their spiel and listen to them do their thing. And so it's a way of reciprocation, creating that artificial reciprocation. Creating raving fans creates real reciprocation where they feel indebted to you. So it helps create that trust. And how do we do number two, the qualified part? Well, and actually the next two, they really come down to education. Part of the problems and part of the reason people have problems with referrals and they don't get them, they'll not get one referral from a person, or actually it's usually a lead or a tip, but they think it's a referral. And they'll get it from, a happy customer or something, and but they refer a non-qualified person. And like we talked about, it's bad for everybody. So, how do we navigate that? Well, the easiest way is to educate our customers, the people that we're expecting to get referrals from. Educate them so that they know when they're talking to their circle, they know exactly who we're looking for. They know that, the people that we can help, are, in the construction industry, and they're companies that have, 10 or more employees, and they're companies in the Southwest, and they're owners who are very interested in quality over pricing or whatever. So now they have our customer that may refer people has an idea. So they're going to refer people that actually fit that profile. They're not going to refer people that, that live on the East Coast that have, one-man operations and, whatever, the opposite of what we're looking for all the reasons we talked about, because it'll embarrass them. So once they do that, they're able to refer us qualified people, and then that kind of goes into, the next part that, that we talked about, the third component. And, it goes with, education, because it's needs-based, or at least wants-based needs. So again, if we educate people and we say, hey, they've got to be this, and this industry, this geography, this whatever, and, they've got to be somebody who's actually got an interest in this thing, and they're interested in it now or in the near future. Because if they refer us again, somebody, even if they're the right profile, but this person has no interest whatsoever in looking at another solution right now. They don't have a need. They're just like, 5 years down the road, they might possibly, it goes back to the plumber thing. If you have no need for it, no want, no desire at all, it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the person referring, and it's a waste of the person, the prospect. So again, that gets us in trouble. But again, how do we do that? Through education. We have to tell our clients and tell our customers what kind of clients we're looking for, and we have to make sure that they understand that we need somebody who actually needs it. So education is the big thing with the qualified and the needs-based stuff. And then, outstanding, service and creating raving fans is the first part of it. Of course, this is all sort of general theory stuff, but what are the mechanics? How do we actually do this? Um, like a lot of things in business, it comes back to systemization. So we need a referral system because if we don't have a system, we really we penalize people and make it difficult for people to refer us, and we also have problems recognizing then the ones that do refer us. If we're going to use referrals and make referrals a big part of our business, it takes some organization. We need to have a system set up. If a person who's referring us business doesn't really know how to refer us business, they don't know what kind of information that we need to be even make that initial contact besides a phone number, they're not going to know what to do. They don't know, should we call you? Should I email you something? And this random thing, so we need to, again, educate them and say, hey, if you find this person that we're looking for, they have the need, whatever, this is how you should give the information to us. And so that, it can be a smooth thing. And it also allows us to, we can track it. And, we went through this at our company years ago under we were getting referrals and things. And we would go, well, I think we got lots of referrals this year. Did we get more than last year? I don't know. How many, what percentage of our business is referrals? And it was this free for all. And, I think that happens to a lot of businesses because we don't put the effort into systemizing it and tracking it, because if you don't have a system, it's impossible to track. If we don't track it and we don't have a system, we can't recognize people. We can't figure out who is our top person referring us. We can't see, what type of clients are being referred mostly, what types of customers. And we can't recognize the people who are referring lots of people. And we can't tweak our system to fit that. And that's when we find gaps in the education. We need, we probably need to tell people this, how do we do it on when we got like a small operation? Let's say you're the type of company that sells to, you've got less than 100 clients, so to speak. You might have 10 big clients or whatever. So we're talking about that. You're a solopreneur or whatever. Point is that you've got people that you're probably on a first name basis with or close anyway. They know who you are. You know who they are. The best thing to do is to have them call you, say, hey, if you find this person, if you find that, a guy who fits this profile, whatever, when you're talking to somebody and they have the need and everything, give us a call, tell us about what they're doing or whatever. And we can set up, potentially a three-way call with, your friend or whatever, or something like that, but do it verbally. And then, on the call, we want to have prepared questions, for that prospect, just so we know specifically what kind of thing we want to fine tune that qualification, and that sort of thing. So again, but it's a system. We've got to have a plan of how to do it. We look at a larger situation, maybe you've got, 1,000, customers or whatever, just something where you're not on a first name basis with them, and it's kind of hard to keep track of them, and that's where, we got to do a little bit more automation. We've got to create, an online form, for instance, a way to, get them, again, we've got to tell them how to refer us business. And the great thing about an online form is that we can put in there, not only we can ask the questions that we need answers to decide from our end if they're qualified, but we can remind people, again, that education thing. We can say, hey, fill out this form and let us know about your friend or whatever if, they meet this criteria, and this criteria, so they know, I'm doing this right. Or they may stop and go, you know what, this is not really a referral. I'm not going to send this in or whatever. So, but using this improved automation, is the only way to keep track of things. And of course, we can do much more in the way of analytics because it's done for us. Again, of who's referring us the most business, what types of customers are being referred to us. How many, what's the sales volume that actually turn into something. All those good things. So if we look at, again, another example, how do we specifically do this with like a small, let's say you're a solopreneur or whatever. The typical, like I said, the typical sales advice is to hit somebody up as soon as you sell them something. And that sounds good, but again, because of the deer in the headlights factor and the killing off all those chemicals, that's really a bad idea. And it can backfire and make things worse, make people not want to refer anybody to you. So how do we do that? So, if you're doing your job and creating raving fans, you're typically in contact with them. So let's say you get a sale, you sign up somebody on it's a high ticket item or whatever, you just sold them, I don't know, you just sold them a car or something, so we don't want to hit them up right away, but if we're doing our job, we should be checking in with them post-sale anyway. So if we call them in a month after, we just sold them that car or whatever, and say, hey, great, this is Bob checking in. I just want to make sure everything is great with your car. Do you got any questions? How's it, there's a, you're doing the customer service thing. At the end, that's when you can say, hey, Bob, before I forget, it really helps us when our happy customers, our best customers refer us a lot of business. And that's, a hint too, is that we're saying our best customers, refer us business, meaning if you want to be our best customer, you will be referring us business. It's kind of a subtle hint. So we say our best customers, refer us, to their friends and family because they're happy. Would you do me a favor and keep your eyes and ears open? If you find somebody that meets X, Y, and Z, basically the education stuff we talked about, trust, qualification, and needs-based, if they meet that, could you give me a call, type of thing. And I guarantee, they'll say, oh yeah, sure. So great, now you've got the permission to check with them. And so now you can, when you call them back for another customer service call, which again, if you want to create raving fans, you got to stay in contact with them. You call them back, next month for whatever, and maybe you don't mention anything that time, but the time after you mention something, you ask them again for a referral, remind them. And each time you do it, you've got to re-educate them, remind them of what kind of referral you're looking for, what type of profile of person, who's your, your ideal client, and, with all the criteria that we talked about. So the cool thing about it is that, again, if people are happy, if they're the raving fans, this gives us give them a chance to reciprocate because they're happy. They like you most likely, and they're happy with their service. And so they naturally want to give back, even though they paid you for it. It's just natural, human tendencies. We want to give back. We want to reciprocate. And so we're allowing them to reciprocate by telling them exactly what to do, telling them how they can reciprocate, other than just saying, hey, great, yeah, I love your product or whatever. This gives them a way to actually show it, So, and then you go back to the larger example, you got 1,000 customers or whatever, and this is not going to be as effective as a one-on-one thing, of course, because it's not as personalized, but, the things we can do, after, again, don't want to hit them up right away. As soon as they bought something, we don't want to send an email afterwards and say, hey, by the way, can you refer some people? This is one of those things if you're staying in contact, which you should be because you want to repeat sales, this is your chance, in a month or whatever, whatever interval you decide on, to say, hey, our best customers, refer us to this, using that terminology again. And, the way to do it, via email, whatever you want to do it, it's got to be sort of personalized. Every day, or everybody knows these days, it's like you get an email and it says, Dear Robert on it, blah, 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 blah. Now, I know that it's most likely an automated email, but psychologically, I can't help it. When I say, Dear Robert, I see my name in lights, and we just love that as humans, like on other videos I've talked about. We just can't help it. So it's got to be personalized, even if it's obvious that it's automated, because it still works. And the other thing about that makes a personalized email even more powerful is that even if somebody thinks it's automated and they says, Dear Robert, if it's from, customer service at XYZ company, they know it's automated, and it basically is like, yeah, you just filled in my auto name or whatever. But if it says, Dear Robert, blah, 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 and then it says at the bottom, from Mary in customer service, it's a specific person. Even if it didn't come from that person, it looks like it came from that person and it has that personalized touch. So if Mary is asking you for a referral, it's different than if customer service department is asking for a referral. And then of course, again, we want to make it easy for them, so we put in that link to that online form that again has that educational criteria in it. It allows them, makes it easy for them. That's part of the problem. We don't get referrals is because we don't make it easy for people. And then the last thing I wanted to cover quickly is, the idea of paying for referrals, if you will. And depending on your industry, this may be common, maybe not. Giving somebody a reward, so to speak. And, it can certainly work well. What we've got to be careful, though, is there's a couple of pitfalls. And, the biggest one is probably that, if we give somebody a financial incentive, for instance, to refer people, hey, you get a free $50 gift card for every customer you refer or whatever, I get those emails from Southwest that says, refer us, to get a credit card or whatever and get 100,000 points or whatever, which is great. And there are some people that will just go nuts and try to refer everybody they possibly can because it's like a money-making thing for them. Personally, I'm too lazy to do that. But some people really get into it, but the problem is that if we incentivize them without having any criteria, without that education, without basically making sure that those people are qualified, they're just going to send the kitchen sink to you, and then you got to wade through all this crap, and it's basically just a bunch of tips at best, type of thing. So we got to be very careful how we incentivize people. We want to make it clear that basically don't waste our time and send in a bunch of crap. So you've got to word questions and everything on that form to make sure that they know again who they're supposed to refer or whatever. When it comes to rewarding people for sending referrals, monetary things are great, but you see a lot of this. Get a $10 gift card to Starbucks or whatever, hey, that's great, you're giving somebody something, but again, if they're doing it for the right reasons because they have that reciprocation, they want to help you, that's not going to mean anything to them, really. If somebody puts that in something that refers and get a free Starbucks gift card, I'm like, whatever, I don't need another gift card. I've got enough of them that, that I haven't used or sitting in my drawer somewhere. But the point is, with some people, the financial aspect will help, but what really helps most people, what really gets people going is recognition. So sending them a little trinket in the mail, hey, thanks so much for referral, whatever. And more importantly, sending them something that's handwritten, So again, if, you send a postcard to somebody, an automated postcard that says, hey, thanks for referring us, that's great. That's better than nothing. But, if you send them a postcard that says, thanks for referring to, and it's signed by Mary in customer service, again, that carries a lot of weight. And people, I feel good, because they did something, so it allows them to reciprocate, and they get recognized for that reciprocation because, getting that recognition is something that we all crave as humans, and a lot of times it's much better than money. It's just like with employees, it's statistically shown in every survey that money is not the number one thing in job satisfaction. It's things like, are you, part of something? Are you contributing? All those types of things. So money is usually secondary. Again, I'm not saying you can't use it, but if you pair it with, recognition, that's a huge way to do it. And of course, what does that require? That again requires systemization. That requires you to know, hey, this person has referred like 5 people or whatever, we really want to recognize them. We can put their name in lights somewhere, it's like, we send out an email, that says, hey, thanks to Bob, for referring us, 5 different clients in the last month or whatever, kudos Bob or whatever, something that makes them feel like, hey, gives that recognition. So the more we can do that, but it's only possible through systemization. Again, it can, paying for referrals can work. Paying through recognition is even better. And anything you can come up with creatively, really helps that. So, bottom line on all this, Referrals have to be very specific, and they have to be very specific criteria. Like we talked about those three components. If they don't have those, then it's not a referral. We're wasting our time. We're wasting the time of the person that got referred to us, the prospect, and then we're actually doing damage to the person that did the referring because they're not going to refer us to anybody else again. So we just killed that permanently. So we got to do this right. And finally, we've got to do that, make that referral system. We've got to systemize everything we do, whether it's from on a small level, because you only have a handful of clients that are big ticket clients, or you got thousands of clients, the same concept. Got to have a system. So I hope this was helpful. We've got a lot of great videos on our channel, so please subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that, bell and all that, and hit the like button, and, share this with your friends and colleagues, as I think this is one of those subjects that gets, it gets taught incorrectly, and it's very hard for people to do it because they teach them in this deer in the headlights type of way, and which is a horrible way to do it. So again, hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you in the next